Hey folks, we are having technical difficulties, and so Michael, he pulled it off. His job was to get this thing all set up in time. Well, the other camera guy, yet to be unnamed, took the camera that works for live stream. So Michael had to run out to this guy's house, get the camera, get back here and get set up, and we're only like 2 minutes late. So now that on live stream and Facebook everybody's here, what do you guys think of my hat? Huh? Thumbs up on the hat? What's the deal there? What's it? Wait a second, what? I don't know what's going on. Oh, there's just a big time delay here. We were gonna wear, normally this is what we wear. We wear our Bowtech hat. But the crew told me, Randy, you really got to go. You got to change it up a little bit here. We just got back from New Mexico, a week of really, really, really tough hunting with my Uncle Jimmer. And it was so hot. The elk were there, and they were active at night when it would get down in the 60s. It was in the mid 80s. You got that thing working over there, Michael?
The Instagram?
This guy's like MacGyver, I tell you. I'm impressed. He's not going to get fired tomorrow unless. All right, folks. Can we do a poll on this? Can you do a poll on live stream or Instagram or Facebook? But here's the deal. I have Michael, who's here tonight. I have Marcus, and I have Dan. Their job in September is to elk hunt every morning and come back to this office and edit it out. And if they don't, I told them that if they don't kill at least one elk, that come October 1st, they're going to be making a march down here to Main Street where the unemployment office is. And I'm just going to have to go through the whole search again and hire new people. I don't know what else to do. You know how many people, Michael, would want a job where your boss says, you got to go elk hunting today? We got Michael all set up with the brand new Bowtech. You got the Realm or the X? He's got the Realm X. He's got it decked out with tight spot and ripcord and black gold. And they go out filming and he leaves his bow at home. Michael, how did you leave your bow at home?
Because I was filming.
Oh, I thought I'd be filming. So the other guy, Dan, he doesn't buy a small game license. He just has his elk license. So they see this big flock of rough grouse. Dan can't shoot them because he doesn't have a license. So Michael's got to put the bow down and try to shoot them. Dan's got big, long monkey arms. So Michael's trying to shoot him with Dan's bow. I mean, you can be inadequate at a lot of things if you work for me, but killing grouse, you better be on your game. And these guys are slipping bad. Anyhow, thanks for tuning in to episode 53 of Elk Talk Live. We didn't do it last week because we were in New Mexico, and even the week before because we were on our way down to New Mexico. But we want to make sure everybody knows who makes this possible. Bowtech, Leupold, Onyx, use promo code Randy, get 20% off. Tight spot quivers, ripcord rests, black gold sights, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. Again, use promo code Randy, get 15% off. And GoHunt.com. If you go out there right now, go to GoHunt.com/Randy, and you get a 30-day free trial of their insider service. The thing that I talk about, that it's why and how we draw so many tags, that's it. Then I have to tell you, if you haven't already seen it, we put a video out on our YouTube channel. You've probably seen it on the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation pages, on the Onyx pages. A lot of you have asked, hey Randy, when are you doing your next sweepstakes? When can we go hunting with you? Well, this is it, folks. Right now, you can go hunting. Well, let me restate that before I get ahead of myself. We are doing a sweepstakes for 2019 5-day rifle hunt, somebody's coming rifle hunting for elk with me in either Wyoming, Montana, or Colorado, all expenses paid, your travel, Sitka's throwing in a whole set of Sitka gear. I'm going to give you an Orion cooler so that you can get that elk back home, or at least part of it. Who knows what else will get drummed up by then. But if you go to onxmaps.com or go to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, their page is rmef.org. It's got all the details of how you enter. And I think we're going to do, the drawing for it is going to be in December, down in Las Vegas at the Hunter and Outdoor Christmas. So, all that out of the way, I better start answering some questions. Someone says, early November bull elk in Colorado. Should I be glassing and staying fairly still, or should I be on the move trying to find a sanctuary? You should find a sanctuary and be there glassing near that sanctuary. In the third season in November, the fourth season even in later November, those elk have already been hammered, because if you've ever seen how much hunting pressure is in Colorado in the second rifle season, that is late October, those elk instantly are highly educated. So by the third season and the fourth season, you're going to be hunting them in a sanctuary mode. Already find your sanctuaries and be there glassing those sanctuaries when the elk are going back to bed or when they're coming out of their beds. So, let's see. Eric says, I'm nearsighted, a little overweight, gallbladder is shot, and I'm bald, but my liver works. Hire me. Too many people were watching our sheep hunt, I think, Michael. Sorry that for a lot of you, we were in Alaska most of August. We ended up shooting the Dall Sheep. I did, and Marcus did. A lot of you have really given us great comments and feedback on that out on our YouTube channel. It's 9 days of it. Oh, you like my new shirt? These are going to be available pretty soon too. I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that. Onyx is going to be selling these with Leopold. This is Marcus, the public land llama. And I don't know if you can see the back. My chair's in the way. I'll try. So, what we're doing with those is we're going to be selling them here pretty soon. Oh, my computer just broke. And, oh, there's back. And when we sell them, the profits are going to go in an account. And folks at Onyx have decided, and Leopold have decided, they're going to take whatever profit it is, whether it's a little bit or a lot, and they're going to give it to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation to use as additional funds towards one of their excess projects. So all of that thanks to the folks at Leopold and Onyx, who really came up with this whole Marcus the public land llama idea. Cool stuff. Let's see. Adam, why didn't your guides carry rifles for grizzly protection while sheep hunting? No grizz in the wrangles? There's grizz there. You'd have to ask them. We had bear spray and everything, and I had a rifle, but some people just don't, so I'm not going to tell the guide what to do. If he doesn't want to carry something, that's up to him. What elevation were we at while we were sheep hunting? Our base camp was about 5,500 feet, and we're gaining 2,000 to 2,400 of elevation multiple times. Every day we'd go on a stalk. Randy, please explain how it works to buy an over-the-counter elk tag in Colorado. As it is just designated the unit you buy the tag in? No. There's 90-some units in western Colorado that if you buy a second season or third rifle season over-the-counter elk tag, it's good in all, I think it's 91 or 92 units. And in their regulations, go out to the Colorado Parks and Wildlife website, and it'll say, here are all the units. There'll be a map that says all these ones in yellow, those are over-the-counter units. So you go there, you buy your tag, and you go hunting. Now understand, you can buy it online or from a licensed vendor, before season starts. But if you show up after season's been open, say you show up the third day of season, you can only buy it from a Parks and Wildlife office. So, but we do it many times. In fact, I think next year we're probably going to end up doing it because with the points that we have or don't have, we're probably going to have a November that's pretty open next year. So I'm kind of banking on I'm going back to Colorado to do over-the-counter elk. I've done it a lot, ton of fun for me anyhow. How late into the fall or early winter are you willing to hunt elk? As long as the season is open, I'm willing to hunt them. We hunt them into December in some places. So, someone says I can't find the hunt trip on the RMEF website. Well, Lisa, somewhere in here we'll find it, and Michael will post a link to it.
What are you looking for?
To enter the contest.
Okay, I got you.
And so if we can post a link to it somewhere. I saw it somewhere. Maybe it's on the maybe
Yeah,
it's
on Onyx.
it's only on OnX.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, sorry, there you go.
I'll post the link.
That's how I don't even know where you can sign up. What kind of guy am I, huh? But Adam Cole says it's out on the OnX page. So go to onxmaps.com. There. Paul already, boy, a bunch of people are already entering the link there. How do you change up your hunting pattern with active fires? I move. So, but I don't move very far. Think about this. Let's say your unit is 30 miles by 30 miles, and there's a fire over here. It's not like those elk are going to go 60 miles away. If those elk are displaced because they previously lived where that fire is, they're just going to go a mile or two away from the fire. And when the fire's out, they're going to come back, and they're going to be along some of that periphery. They're going to be within a mile or two of whatever boundary, and it's never a clean boundary. If you've ever seen how fires burn, there's like this crazy slightly burned, heavily burned, slightly burned pattern to it, and they're going to be not very far from that. So don't completely give up on your unit because there's been a fire there. Congratulations on our sheep. Thanks so much. I'm really happy people enjoyed that. I was worried about it. Jerry asks, was your New Mexico hunt filmed? If not, talk about it. Yeah, it was filmed. What on the calendar? Let's see what day we're going to start rolling that out. October 1st or 2nd, something like that. So you'll be able to watch all 7 days of our floundering and carrying on. And we called in, there's a herd of 7 bulls. We started doing Marcus's version of what we call a cow party, where 2 or 3 of us just start cow calling like crazy. And this works good with younger bulls, like 2.5 and 3.5-year-old bulls. Of those 7 bulls, 5 of them came running to us through the pinions. We thought it was cattle. And all of a sudden, here's all these bull elk standing there. They weren't big ones, but it was still a lot of fun. Let's see. Someone's going bear hunting. How often do you practice with your bow during the season? I try to practice as much as I can because I can easily lose my form. And maybe all of us can, but I know I can. So I carry a little target with me. When we were in New Mexico, you'll see, there were days where thunk, had this little target out there, thunk. A lot of times I even bring a judo point or some sort of, they're not judo points, they're these small game heads that when you shoot them, they stand straight up. I'll do that and I'll just shoot stumps along the way. Yeah, I give up one of my broadheads as a possibility in exchange for having that judo point, but it allows me, and the good part about doing it out in the woods is I don't use my rangefinder when I'm doing it out in the woods. I'm like, I think that's 23 yards. Thunk. And it helps with range estimation and keeps my form, hopefully, good. Let's see. I hunt southwest Montana and the elk seem to go quiet. What do you do during bow season when this happens? Keep walking, keep hiking, keep calling. Or what I do is I change locations. You'll see this in New Mexico. So we did this whole e-scouting series, right? You saw it out on Onyx Maps all summer on their website. So I did my e-scouting plan for this hunt in New Mexico. I'd never hunted this unit before. It's a huge unit, and I knew I had 7 days. I actually gave myself 7 spots because I had no idea what was going to work out. The first couple days, we hardly saw any elk. And then, I think days 3 and 4, we saw 0 elk. Day 5, we saw some elk. But the reason I'm saying this is we pulled camp 4 times in the first 5 days and went to a completely different part of the unit. And I think people are going to look at that and say, wow, you don't give that spot a lot of time. No. If I show up and I don't hear elk, I am not seeing sign, I'm not seeing rubs, droppings, tracks that are fresh, I'm out of there. You can't kill an elk if there isn't an elk there. So we kept moving and moving and moving and moving, and finally we did find them. The last 2 days was pretty good. But I could have easily said, oh, I know they're around here somewhere, and I could have wasted my whole hunt in a place where there are no elk. So to answer the question, I just get up and off I go. So it's, I'm not gonna, you're gonna see, I don't waste a lot of time. So, let's see. All right, someone has a question here that is one where I thought call Shy Elk. What should I do? Keep calling. Try different calls. Try different tones, pitches, whining. I've had really, really good luck with cow calling in this really whiny, almost. I'm sure if a hunter hears it, they think, what is that noise? But I've had really good luck with it. And I'll be doing the traditional kind of cow calls, or I'll be bugling and I don't get any response. I will change it up. I will try something crazy, something goofy. And I keep moving. Because a lot of times we think they're call shy elk. Sometimes they're just not there. Or like it was in New Mexico last week, it was in the high 80s. They're not call shy. They're just laying in the shade, and nothing's going to get them to respond and get them active except lower temperatures. And that doesn't happen until night. So don't just assume that they're call shy. They may be, but maybe not. Jeremy asks, what's my favorite Nosler bullet? Ooh, boy, that's a tough one. Depends on which species. If it was for elk, I'd say the partition. Yeah, I've shot a lot of elk with Nosler partitions. What was that? Boy, you guys go through these questions so fast I can't hardly read them all. How much difference in the amount of meat is there between a 2 to 3 year old bull and a 4 to 5 year old bull elk? Actually, quite a bit. If you shoot a young raghorn, say he's 2.5, he's a little bit bigger than a cow elk. You shoot a 5.5 year old bull, and you walk up to that, you're like, whoa, I got my work cut out for me. It wouldn't surprise me if there's more than 100 pounds of meat on an old mature bull versus raghorn. I've never measured it, but it is significant. There's a significant difference in the amount of meat that you'll see. So, Michael, are you shooting me questions here from the other ones?
Yeah, on the
Okay.
doc, but you just want me to read you one?
Yeah, read me one because I'm trying to pull it up here and it's...
How important are burn areas when there are open meadows present? Is the burn still a draw for elk?
Yes. So the question is a burn area important for elk if there are open meadows? Yes, because open meadows very often don't have the nutrients and the fresh, renewed vegetation that a burn has. So if you give me the option of either a burn or a meadow, I'm hunting the burn. Not even a question. And like in New Mexico last week, that unit we were in did not have any burns. So we're on a food pattern because, and people say, well, wait a second, it's peak rut. Why are you on a food pattern? The reason we were is if you think about this, the cows are always looking for the best food. And if you want to find bulls in, say, we were there September 7th through the 14th. If you're going to find bulls, you're going to have to find the cows. And to find the cows, you got to find the best food. So that's why we were hunting a food pattern while we were down there. And unfortunately, it was hard to find because there's monsoons, there was food everywhere, there was water everywhere, and it was hot. So it was hard to find something that was a real, what I'd say, consolidating or congregating way to find them. All right, there we go, Michael. I found it.
Cool.
Look at that, huh?
It's at the very bottom.
Yeah? Okay. What else we got here?
How about New Mexico, Arizona, or Utah for big bull elk? Which state?
New Mexico, Arizona, or Utah for big bull elk? Which state? If you looked at the Boone and Crockett record books, you would say none of those as the number one. Montana's the number one, followed by Utah, then Arizona. I know some people are going to be like, what? Yeah, go look at the last 10 years of Boone and Crockett entries. Montana is number one. And we hunt the crap out of it. But we have some private property where they can get old. And we have just some nasty backcountry areas where elk can get some age on them. But if you're looking for a hunt that's just probably what you dream of, lots of big bulls, low hunting pressure, hunting them in the bugling season with a rifle, you'd say Utah. Because Utah has, that's when, right now, Utah is rifle hunting elk, I believe, starting right now. Or in the next couple days, with a rifle. So when you take bull elk at their most vulnerable time right now in the rut, and you hunt them with a rifle, you have to keep opportunity really, really low. You have to limit the number of tags, or you're going to end up without any elk in short order. So, everyone's going to have their different ideas about where you're going to find the biggest bulls, but the record books say that the top three places will be Montana, Utah, Arizona. So, let's see. Have I used the offline Onyx maps via iPhone app? Did it work okay? I don't have an iPhone. I've used it on my Droid, and it works great. You just save the map, either the 5 by 5, 5 mile by 5 mile, the 10 mile by 10 mile, or I'm not even sure what the bigger one is, but 150? Yeah. Whew. But we were using them down in New Mexico because most places we didn't have service. So what you do, you save it to your phone and you put your phone on airplane mode. Your GPS still works when your phone's on airplane mode. Then it's not searching for service. You're not burning your battery. And what it does is it pulls up the saved map on your phone and goes from there. It is really, really slick. It's so cool. But anyhow, I know my Dairy Queen hat is, I'm thinking about wearing it to Wyoming when I go antelope hunting down there. I'm not sure if anyone else thinks that's a good idea. The guy who owns the Dairy Queen in Sheridan, Wyoming, told me to stop in. He's got some free Dairy Queen for me. So, have I ever hunted southwest Colorado? I've hunted outside of Montrose. I'm not sure if that's southwest. It's certainly west. I was right on the Utah border. It was a ton of fun. Let's see. On Onyx, my iPhone won't switch between topo and satellite, sometimes off-grid. Boy, I can get all three map types on mine. And I think Marcus could too, and he's got an iPhone. I've not had that problem before. Not sure what the deal would be. What do you do with a very highly pressured archery unit when water is pretty spread out and not helpful in concentrating the elk? That's not exactly. Where I was in New Mexico, it's not real highly pressured, but there was water everywhere. There was food everywhere, so there's nothing to really concentrate them. just keep moving, calling, and sooner or later you'll run into them. So, let's see. All kinds of them here. Somebody, what is your take on bear spray versus a sidearm? I know a well-placed bullet will kill anything, but will a spray be better overall? You're going to get 1 million people who have a different, you ask 100 hunters, you're going to get 200 different answers. I got to close this door, folks. It sounds like the cleaning folks are, you got it, Michael? Yep. All right. He's going to bounce across the screen. Cleaning crew is here on Wednesday nights. Going to have to fire them too. So bear spray versus sidearm. You're going to get so many different opinions. We live here in Montana. We hunt grizzly country a lot. I don't carry a sidearm. I carry bear spray. Someday, maybe I'm going to end up getting gobbled on and people are going to say, see, Newberg, you idiot, you should have carried a sidearm. But I've talked to quite a few people who've been involved in bear attacks. Most of them said they wouldn't even have had time to get their sidearm out. And then you think about a bear rushes you and he or she is on top of you. And the first thing you're going to do is try to defend your face. If like Todd Orr, who, if you watch Facebook, he's the guy from Bozeman, he is on our podcast. He got attacked 2 years ago. And his shooting arm, I think it's a shooting arm, or it's this arm. Anyhow, he had a sidearm with him. But the bear just mangled his arm as he's trying to protect himself. It happens so fast. Twice I've had encounters where, fortunately, within 20 yards of being by a grizzly bear, surprise one. They went the other way. But they went the other way so fast that if they would have decided to come my direction, I don't know that I would have had time to even engage and deploy my bear spray. So I think about how I've got a bear on top of me and I'm trying to protect my face and my neck. Am I going to be able to pull out a firearm, a sidearm, to protect myself? I don't know, but yeah, I get it, and everyone's got a different idea. But for me, I'm a bear spray guy. It's we've done videos on it out there. You'll see it. We've done them on our YouTube channel. Let's see. Thoughts on Utah's archery season starting in mid-August, ending mid-September, right before the peak rut? Well, I had the South Cache archery tag in 2014, and yeah, it's problematic because if you go there when season opens like August 20th, it's mostly a spot and stock or sit water event. And season ends, like you said, just as the rut's getting going. And it's frustrating because you're there with a bow. You want to hunt the peak rut, but that's not how they do it in Utah. So my thoughts on that are Utah can do whatever they want, but it's different than other states. Let's just say it that way. What is my opinion on using a 270 short mag for elk? My opinion is it'll kill every elk you hit, if you hit them good. I've killed 5 bull elk with a 270, not a 270 short mag, but a 270, shooting 150 grain Nosler partitions. You put those in a Winchester 270 Winchester short mag, you're gonna kill every elk. If that's all you have for a rifle, don't go buy another rifle. Just use that one. You'll be just fine. Let's see. Randy, I just saw the 9 days of your Alaska sheep hunt. You look like you were ready to throw in the hat on hunting. Are you going to make it? Yeah, I'm going to make it. Those of you who watch that realize you probably got to see Randy when his liver is really bad. It's out there on our YouTube channel. Of the 7 days of hunting, there were 3 days I wasn't able to go. I could hardly even function. The good news is when I got home, I go to the Mayo Clinic for regular checkups, and that was the week after I got home from Alaska, and they said, you know what? As much as you got some discomfort and occasionally this creates problems for you, you're doing pretty darn good, so keep doing what you're doing. So I said, all right, I think I'll go to New Mexico and go hunting then. But thanks for the concern and thanks for asking. We usually don't show that in the footage when my liver flares up, but sometimes it's that much of the story that you just, people would be like, where's Randy? He's been gone for 3 days. So sometimes we have to put it in there. Favorite elk bullet for my new Howa model 1500 in a 300 Win Mag. I was just shooting one today. Marcus and I were out at the range. Go get yourself some Nosler trophy grade ammo, 180 grain Akibon. Trust me on that one. Trust me. We have taken a lot of elk with that load and that rifle. Let's see. Do you look at elk tracks or droppings while you hunt? Yep, all the time. Explain how when the tracks go straight up and down as opposed to side hill tracks. Well, I don't worry about straight up and down versus side hill. I worry about, are they straight lined, whether it's up, down, side hill, diagonal, versus when they're meandering. If there's snow, you can, and I do this a lot, you can glass a hillside of tracks and you can tell what those elk are doing. If those elk are just lined out in a straight line, they are heading somewhere. Usually if there's snow on the ground, they're probably heading to lower ground. They're heading closer to the winter range. So they've came from their summer range or their transition area, and they are getting out of Dodge. And you can tell there'll be lots of tracks, and they're all going in the same direction. There's none of this zigzag back and forth. Now, if I'm glassing in a basin, say there's a little sanctuary area on my map, and I get over there and I start looking, and I see elk tracks that are just kind of look like almost they're drunk or something. They're just meandering and moving through the trees according to those tracks. If those are fresh tracks, I'm going to sit there probably all day, because that's an elk that is looking to feed and bed, and he's probably somewhere, and I just can't see him yet until he gets up on his feet. The other thing is, if I see a whole bunch of tracks, say I see 10, 15, 20 sets of tracks going across a hillside, I know those are going to be cows, calves, maybe spike bulls, maybe a young bull. But if I see 2 or 3, maybe 4 sets of tracks going across a hill in November in the snow, I know those are bulls. Just that's how they travel. That's how they're grouped up at that time. So there's a lot you can learn from tracks just by looking at them from afar. And if I see the track of, let's say there's 3 tracks and they're going through snow, but they're going in a straight line, I know those bulls have got out of Dodge. I got to get out in front of where those elk were headed or find where they're at, and it's not right here. An elk can cover a ton of ground. When they decide to head out, they can be 10 miles away. Well, you're not going to see them 10 miles away. So when you look at those tracks, you really got to be thinking about what are these tracks telling me? So I read tracks a lot. Where do you go to find information for putting in for these draws? Go to gohunt.com, and they're insider. Right now they have a 30-day free trial. gohunt.com/Randy. 30-day free trial. That service right there is everything that I use. It's got this information. We call them strategy articles about every state, about every species, the deadlines, how every state system works, the draw odds, not just for the last year, but for multiple years. It's worth every bit of it. It's one of those, I'm not sure what it costs. It hits my credit card every year. But it's some of the best money I spend when it comes to drawing tags. Not even a question. So, let's see. After the rut, do bulls tend to stay in the same area, or do they move to higher ground or go solo? So after the rut, the mature bulls go solo for a while. They just leave the cows, and they go into their post-rut mode, which if you listen to all of our stuff and our videos, post-rut is the hardest time to kill a bull elk, because these bulls go into sanctuary mode and they are solo until sometime in late October. Then they start coming into bachelor groups of anywhere from 2 to 5, maybe 6. And then they're a little bit easier to spot, because you think about it, one lone bull bedded down in a rocky mess or in a really thick blowdown hillside is a lot harder to see than 4 bulls bedded there. So it's easier to get an elk in the November season than it is that post-rut season of, say, October 15th, somewhere in there, to the end of October. But they do go solo until they join back up in late October and form their bachelor groups. Let's see. How many points do you save for pronghorn hunts in Wyoming? The tag I drew this year, I had 3 points. I'm hoping that I never need more than 3 points to go pronghorn hunting in Wyoming, because I love to do it. Oh, let's see. Any input on where to start in Unit 16A in the Gila? I'll be there in a few weeks. John. In episodes 9, 10, and 11 of our e-scouting series with Onyx maps that we did, we used Unit 16A as our example. So go find those videos and you'll know exactly where I would have started. But be careful, because thousands and thousands of people watch those videos, and if some of them have the tag, you're probably going to have some company in those places. How frequently do bull elk visit wallows? That depends. If it's cool and it's wet outside, they're not going to do it a lot. If it's really hot, they'll be there at least in the early part of the rut. But there's like so many things as it comes to elk, there's not a hard and fast rule that gives you the precise answer. All right, Michael, I'm going to see if we got any more there. How are we doing over on Instagram? I can't see Instagram unless you hand me your phone.
That's the one that I've been putting.
Oh, you've been putting. Oh, okay, gotcha. Let's see. Do you find other hunters in an area calling affects the calling that you do? To some degree. We called in some hunters in New Mexico, and so I just packed up and left. They didn't even know we were there. They were coming into our calls, and we could hear them. They had these push-button hoochie mama calls, and you could tell immediately. And anytime I would call, you'd hear them, wow, 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 wow. And so, yeah, when I know there are other hunters there, it does affect what I do, no doubt. I'm probably a little, I'll call stealthier in what I do. Do you typically call to elk in mid-October? No, I typically don't, unless they're calling. I find that at that point, they're usually, at least the mature bulls on public land, they're off in sanctuary mode. They've left. That last half of October is post-rut. They're in recovery mode, so I usually am not going to call much then. When's the next Elk Talk podcast coming out? Corey and I recorded one the other day. It's at the editor being edited, so hopefully in the next few days. Are you ever going to do just a grouse special? What did we talk about that today, Michael? I told them if they don't get with the program, when I get back from Wyoming, I'm going to go do some grouse hunting. And I'll probably kill an elk while I'm out grouse hunting. But, yeah, can you imagine seeing 8 rough grouse and not killing one of them? Whew. I don't know. Oh, well. I don't want to have to fire these guys. They're good guys. Let's see. When will we find out who wins the hunt sweepstakes with you? In December. We're going to do it down at the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. Has a thing in Vegas as part of the National Final Rodeo. Right alongside it, they have a thing called Hunter and Outdoor Christmas. And we're going to draw the winner while we're down there in Vegas. So, any recommendations on sleeping bags? Man, we've been spending a lot of time in sleeping bags. Let's see, 5, 9, 14, 10. I've already spent 22 days in my sleeping bag this season. And this time of year, I'm using a 25-degree down bag. And I always have a sleeping bag liner, because when you're hot and sweaty and you can't shower every day, you don't want to jump in that sleeping bag, because all your oils and all the sweat and grime gets on the inside of your sleeping bag. It hinders the performance of your sleeping bag over time. and it makes your sleeping bag stink and harder to take care of. So I use these sleeping bag liners. I use a Kelty or another one made by Cocoon. So when I'm done, I can just pull the liner out, wash that, sleeping bag's perfect. Now, when we go to Wyoming in Utah, we're going to be at some higher elevations in the next few weeks. I'm going to probably grab either my 10 degree or 0 degree bag there. And then there's the question of, do I want synthetic or do I want down? I'm a down guy. I like down bags. And people say, well, if they get wet, you're going to really regret it. Well, I have a Rab ultralight bivy that I put on the outside of my down sleeping bag, so that if somehow condensation or rain or snow or somehow I had a problem, that bivy is going to keep my sleeping bag dry. So where do you get your sleeping bag liners? You can get them Amazon, you can get them at Cabela's, Bass Pro, Sportsman's Warehouse, Shields. Any good retailer, sporting goods outfit will do this. They'll have one for you. Oh, let's see. David says, my first hunt in Arizona, 7E, the Kachina Peaks Wilderness. What's your advice? My advice, I had that same tag last year. You can go out and see it. It's a video called Uncommon Ground out on our YouTube channel and on our Amazon Prime channel. My advice is be ready for a tough hunt. That's some steep, nasty country, and there will be plenty of hunting pressure. It's not the cakewalk that a lot of people think it is, but it's also a lot of fun, because if you go there, my hunt last year started, I think, October 4th or 5th. There were still some elk bugling, and that made it really, really good. See. Will Dairy Queen gift cards get me any extra entries into the elk hunting sweepstakes? Unfortunately, no. Dairy Queen, if you should, here, let's do this experiment. Dairy Queen follows me on Instagram. Yeah, official Dairy Queen follows me on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, go tell Dairy Queen they need to send me more gift cards. And then maybe we'd do some Dairy Queen gift card giveaways or something. But they send me quite a few of them. And I'm supposed to use them to buy kids dilly bars and sundaes, and I do that. Do you think cattle will push elk out of an area? They will temporarily, but not permanently. And it depends on the time of year. Like where we were in New Mexico last week, it was such a classic example. The cattle were on the allotment, and it was grazed pretty hard. And you'd go in there, there was no elk sign at all. You go 400 yards over the allotment fence, so the cattle come up and they can graze up to this fence, and they can't graze over here. And these parts of the forest had a lot of elk. So yeah, they might displace them a little bit temporarily, but they're not going to displace them far. And once the cattle are off the allotment, there's a good chance the elk might come back in there. So I pay attention to it a little bit, but I don't throw my arms up and say, oh man, I'm screwed. I have not found that elk pack up and leave the country just because of cattle. Let's see. Do edges and disruptions play a role in the northern Nevada Juniper Hills? They sure do. We hunted in there with a friend who had a bull tag. Every place where there was a burn was loaded with elk. It was one of the most classic places. So you've seen how that pinyon juniper, when it burns, you get a really big green up, and unfortunately some of it's cheatgrass, which is an invasive species that it has a very narrow window of utility to wildlife. But the places that got reseeded naturally, Barrett Gold, Nevada Division of Wildlife, reseeded stuff to native vegetation right after the fire. Those places were like going to the donut shop, man. There were elk all over in that stuff. So those canopy disruptions in those places, or in areas with, remember the old times they used to chain it? They'd get a chain, hook the great big chain to the back of 2 bulldozers and just go across and ball up all this pinyon juniper. All of those kind of canopy disruptions are really good for elk in Nevada. I just wish that I could draw Nevada again. I lucked out and drew in 2005, and so I just got out of the penalty box a few years ago. Let's see. What are you looking for when e-scouting, looking over topo maps? I answered that question just to say, if you go and look at the e-scouting videos we did with Onyx this summer, it'll explain what we're looking for. We're looking for canopy disruptions. We're looking for food. We're looking for sanctuary areas. We're looking for boundaries and borders. There's just a lot of things. Hopefully, if you went and looked at that, that'd answer the questions. Brian says, my wife brought me earbuds to listen to you. Oh, gosh. How would you hunt where there's a lot of hunting pressure but a bunch of shut down roads? I'd use those roads to get away from the hunting pressure. Through a bike, through hiking, whatever. That explains Montana. Montana, we do have a lot of roads, but back in the early 90s, our Game and Fish asked hunters, do you want the roads seasonally closed and we can continue with our 6 weeks of archery and 5 weeks of rifle? Or do you want us to leave those roads open and you're going to end up in limited entry hunts like a lot of other states? Well, hunters are like, no, give us our 11 weeks of general hunting, close those roads if you have to. So in Montana, we have tons of closed roads, and those are some of the best elk hunting. Yeah, they attract some hunting pressure, but if you're willing to hoof it or bike it or pedal it, whatever, you're going to find some really, really good elk hunting in those closed roads areas. So, let's see. Is episode 11 the last of the e-scouting videos? I think it is. 11 or 12. I think it's 11. Have I ever hunted elk in Pennsylvania? No, but if you found a way to get me a tag, I'd be right there. That's the biggest problem, is trying to get the tag at times. Let's see. How does weather affect the elk rut? It doesn't affect the rut itself. The rut is going to happen based on the photo period. In other words, how much daylight there is or what time of year it is. A lot of biologists will tell you the fall equinox, which is in 2 days, is the peak of the rut. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, but if it's not the peak, it's probably really close. And if you think about the gestation period of an elk, they have to drop their calves somewhere in late May to early June to catch all that really rich nutrition that's on the landscape, because they're going to be lactating and nursing these calves. So you will never see the rut delayed or deferred because it's warm out. What happens is all the activity happens at night. Well, we're not out there to see it, hear it, witness it, so we say, oh, the rut's late this year. No, it's not late. It's just happening differently. To answer the question, no, weather will affect what we see happening as the rut, but it's not going to make it start earlier or make it start later. So, I'm literally sitting in my tent hearing bugles, called with a soft cow mew, and they stopped. Does that mean that they are call shy? No. There's a really good chance they smelled you, or they smelled your camp, or whatever. It could mean they're call shy, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're call shy. Elk aren't dummies. I mean, especially with their nose. If you go and camp and you pitch your tent right in the prime elk country, they're going to boogie. They're going to be out of there. If they smell a lot of human scent in the woods, it just changes how they're going to behave. So, have I ever hunted California? No, not for big game. I've hunted it for waterfowl before. What do I do when post-rut elk are in sanctuaries in dark timber? I go find places where they are in sanctuaries that aren't dark timber. I know that sounds like kind of a smug comment, but dark timber is really not a good place to hunt. There are elk in there. There's an occasional elk in there. But if you look at the elk densities in large expanses of dark timber, they're very, 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 very low compared to other places. So I would go find a different place if I could. I'm sure whatever unit you have a tag for, there's probably some places that don't have all dark timber. So, what's that? How would you hunt a unit with little pressure but little elk? I drew an Arizona 24A elk tag, 5 tags total. Lucky you. I often make that unit one of my choices. I don't know how I would hunt it, but that hunt, it's during part of the bugling season, so I would be in there calling like crazy. I'd be in there scouting as much as I can. It definitely, you look at the success rate. Some years the success rate's 0, so obviously it's a tough hunt. But because of where it's located, right next to the reservation, there are some really big bulls in there if you luck out. So I would just go and scout as much as I can, as much as I possibly can. So Scott says, Corey Jacobson said in a recent podcast that this year's moon phase will push the rut back a few days. The next harvest moon is on September 24th. I'm not sure that it will push the rut itself back. It will change what we see in the rut because they can be up all night long and then they can bed all day because they've got the light of the moon to do everything. So you will definitely notice that there are some times when a full moon makes it seem like the rut is delayed or stalled or stopped. It's because they're up all night. The flip side of that is because they've been up all night and they still got to feed a little bit and water a little bit. Sometimes in the full moon, the middle of the day can actually be a good time if it's not super hot. So, let's see. Would you save preference points in Colorado for the north? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by the north. Any suggestion on an eastern whitetail hunter that wants to do a do-it-yourself hunt out west for pronghorn or mule deer? Yep. If you want to do an out west hunt for pronghorn, go to Wyoming. A ton of fun. Easy to get tags in the eastern part. Got some access challenges there. And mule deer, go to Colorado. Give Idaho a few more years to recover, and then go to Idaho. They have unbelievable mule deer hunting there. Have I ever hunted elk in central Washington? Nope, I've not. What's my take on Oregon, and have you hunted it before? I've not hunted Oregon. My son just moved there, so I bet you in the next year or two I'm going to have to figure out the Oregon gig for elk. Let's see. Where can I get the book you recommended on elk biology? Since I've been talking about that book, a bunch of people have got a hold of me. There's a place called the Wildlife Management Institute, WMI, and it's a book by Jack Ward Thomas. I think the title, I always mix it up. I think it's called Elk and Elk Ecology. Anyhow, you can get it for $60 over at the website for the Wildlife Management Institute. Great book. For me, it is my go-to place when I'm wondering what are elk doing. I go and pull that book out. Well, I used to. I loaned it to somebody, and right now it's missing. It went blank. Hopefully, whoever I loaned it to will get it back to me someday. Would you save points in Colorado for the northwest corner of the state, or Unit 61, or southern units? Depends on if I was a resident or a non-resident. If I'm a non-resident, it takes a lot of points. I applied for my 20th year before I drew Unit 61 as a non-resident. is a ton of fun, but it's tough. Let's see. Could a Minnesota slug hunter have success out west using a 12 gauge with a quality Sabot slug? You could. I wouldn't suggest it though. I think you'd have far better luck grabbing a centerfire rifle. Obviously, if you get close enough and you hit a bull elk with a 12 gauge slug, you're going to kill it if you hit it good. But it just keeps your distance so much narrower when everyone else is there with a centerfire rifle. It puts you at a disadvantage. Boy, there is a ton of questions. I can't even go through them all. How many times can you draw a moose hunt in Idaho because they call it once in a lifetime hunt? You can draw it once, or you can shoot one moose, is what I should say. That's why I call it once in a lifetime. In Montana, that's not the case. Some of the other states, it's not the case. How far will a bull travel from the summer range to rut and back to sanctuary? I don't know that answer, as some absolute exact science or precise number, but I know places where there are elk that are traveling probably 20 miles to go where the rut's getting serious. And they're coming from their summer ranges, they're going there, and they don't go all the way back after the rut, then they go into their sanctuary places. Have I ever had a hunt canceled due to a wildfire? No, I haven't, thankfully. I hope that I never have that happen, but maybe it could, I guess. All right, I'm going to the Gila in Unit 16B on the 13th. Would you plan your strategy for post-rut or plan for rut to still be going? This is my first year elk hunting. The 13th of October is it's the tail end of the rut. I'd probably spend most of my time thinking about a post-rut pattern. But that hunt, if I remember right, is only 5 days. It's the 13th to the 17th. You're still probably going to hear some bugling. So I wouldn't give up on the idea that there's still some bulls checking cows. Unit 16B is a wilderness area, doesn't get a ton of hunting pressure, very high elk densities. So it's probably one of those places where I'd lean more towards thinking about it still having some rut activity, whereas there are some other places that have a lot of access, a lot of roads, a lot of hunting pressure. By October 13th, 15th, my mind, I'm in post-rut mode there. But 16B is a really good unit. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear quite a bit of bugling at night. Boy, some of you guys have funny questions. How thick is too thick of timber to hunt elk? It depends what kind of timber. Is it aspen? Is it dark timber? Is it a mix? And the question is 75-25 to timber too open? Or again, it depends on how open that is. Is these openings, or is it just less dense timber that makes it 75-25? Or is it that it's really thick, but then 25% of it is open areas? So, hard to say, but if you aren't seeing food and you aren't seeing tracks and you aren't seeing droppings, that's your answer. They're not there, or they're there in very, very low densities. Any advice for a new hunter on common mistakes? All right, this is a shameless plug. Corey Jacobson and I have a podcast called Elk Talk. Go out to iTunes or Stitcher or Podbean or any of your podcast apps. In our first 5 podcast episodes we did were, what are your top 5 mistakes? Not just for him, not just for me, but Donnie Drake, Dirk Durham, David Brinker. Yeah, we had a bunch of guests on and we asked them the same thing. So hopefully as a new hunter, if you went and listened to those, you'd realize that those top 5 mistakes for us, we still make them. In fact, I made a mistake in New Mexico that is such an amateur move. I can't believe I did it, but I did. You'll see it when it goes up on YouTube. Stupid. I cost us an opportunity to at least have an encounter. Randy, I want to go on an elk hunt next year on public land. Which state would you suggest? Well, the western states all have some pretty elaborate schemes in how you get to draw tag. I would look at applying in New Mexico because it doesn't require any points. So the first year you're in, you're the same as people who've been applying for 20 years. I'd look at Wyoming. I'd look at Arizona. And as a fallback, if I didn't draw in any of those states, I'd be thinking about Montana. The draw odds are easy. It's a way better archery hunt than it is a rifle hunt in Montana. And then if all else fails, Colorado has more over-the-counter units. You just buy the tag and go. So we've done articles. If you Google hunt elk every year, you'll see a bunch of articles and videos we've done of how you can hunt elk every year. So good luck. I hope you go do it. It's a ton of fun. Let's see. Justin says, I drew the late season Book Cliffs elk hunt. That would be Utah. It's November. Should I concentrate on winter range or transition corridors? Depends on how much snow you have. If you haven't had much of a winter yet, they're probably going to be in their transition areas up above the winter range. If there's a ton of snow, the cows and calves are probably already going to be on the winter range, and the bulls are going to be in those transition areas, those corridors that take them to the winter range. They're going to be up above where the cows are. So it just depends on the severity of the weather by the time your season starts. Missy says, hi Randy, my husband just went and bought a Howa 308. I blame you. Oops, sorry Missy. Actually, I'm not. You know what you should do? For Christmas, you should also go buy him a matching one in a 7mm 08. All right. I'm just trying to be the good sales guy here. Andrew, what is your favorite elk recipe? I have this little marinade pack that I bring with me. Its base is Lowry's beef meat marinade. So going to Amazon, I order it by the box because I use so much of it. And it's Lowry's. It's their beef marinade. But work with some spices. There's this group, Dog Day Spice Rub, that have some really cool spices, and I just tweak a little bit of that in there to kind of get it to my seasoning and my liking of what I want. So, and then what I do is I take a backstrap or a tenderloin, and I marinate it for about 3 or 4 hours, and then I even use a little bit more of that rub and pat it on the outside, and then I slow cook it. Oh man, I'm hungry just thinking about that one. Yeah, I'm hungry thinking about that one. Yeah, someone said I like Taco Bell. I asked Michael if have we ever stopped at a Taco Bell, Michael? Never. Nothing personal, just not part of what I do. How often do I bow hunt? Whenever I have a tag. This year I had a New Mexico archery elk tag. I have a Colorado archery mule deer tag. Have a Utah archery bison tag. I'm going to sneak in a few days here in Montana. I'm going to go down to Arizona and hunt the cow's whitetail archery. So I definitely do it when I can. Boy, there's a bunch of questions here that I can't. Some of these I don't know the answer to. I'd have to just say, I don't know. How long are we going, Michael? Are we past due here?
It's 9:06.
9:06?
Well,
Of course, we got started late.
Yeah, we started a little late.
What is the maximum minimum elevation for elk typically? There is none. I would say there's maybe a maximum. I talked to guys in Colorado where they have a lot of 14,000 foot stuff. Most of those guys say you're not going to see elk over about 12.5. Now, as quick as I say that, someone's going to say, well, I saw an elk at 13. Maybe you do. And those are going to be elk in their summer patterns. Minimum, I don't know. It depends on where the quality habitat is. They're just going to go where they can satisfy their needs. So, all right. So I'm trying to think what we could do that's really creative to get people signed up for the sweepstakes. I don't know how many of you want to enter the sweepstakes to go hunting with me, but if you go to onxmaps.com, Onyx, RMEF, and us, we are sponsoring this all expense paid 5-day rifle elk hunt in the fall of 2019. And all the rules and how you enter and everything is out there on the Onyx page, but I hope that people will apply. It's been 2 years since we did our last elk hunt as a sweepstakes hunt. And it would really, for me anyhow, it'd be a lot of fun to take someone new who just wants to have a great time. I don't know. I get more satisfaction and more enjoyment now out of watching someone else shoot their first elk than if I shoot another elk. In fact, if I could be there when Michael arrows his elk tomorrow, I'd be all excited. But I won't be there. I'll be working. Really, here at the office, every afternoon I tell those guys, you have to go elk hunting in the morning because we need content, we need story, we need YouTube stuff. And those guys are slacking. Man, did you guys elk hunt today, Michael?
Couldn't because we were editing.
No, we couldn't. We were editing. These guys need to work harder. Man. I bet you if I put an ad out here and said needed people to get paid to go elk hunting, I'd probably get a few responses. No? I think I would. All right, we got it. Let's see. Boy, there's so many of them. I can't. What am I going to do with all these questions that we didn't get to, Michael? I'm feeling bad.
Talk about them on Elk Talk.
Talk about them on our Elk Talk, on our podcast, yeah.
Like top 5 questions from
Yeah,
Elk Talk.
that's what we should do. So, I guess, what you got any questions that are coming to you, Michael? No, I mean of your own question. No?
Oh.
All right.
We don't want to.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we don't want. How many grouse have you missed this year, Michael?
I think I'm one for
For
5 right
one,
now.
he's got the finest gear that Bowtech can make, with all these great accessories from ripcord and tight spot and black gold, and he's only hit one of the 5 grouse he shot at this year.
Oh, I've hit more than one.
No, unless you're eating it, you haven't hit it.
That's true.
So, let's see. All right, Clyde says I'm registered for the hunt, Randy. Cool. Okay, all right. Someone wants a Dairy Queen promo code. You'll have to ask Dairy Queen about that. But whoever wins the hunt with us next year, I can assure you we are going to a Dairy Queen sometime during that hunt, or before or after. We are not going to let somebody come all the way out here to Montana or wherever it ends up, Wyoming, Colorado, for an elk hunt and not go to Dairy Queen. Let's see. Why did you change the rings on your rifle? I don't know that I did. I'm not sure about that question. Am I hiring? Depends on if these guys go elk hunting and get some content. If I'll be hiring if they don't get their act together. Oh my goodness. Someone says, would you endorse an elk hunter if he was running for president? I don't know. Depends on. Oh gosh, I'll be glad when it's not a political year. Let's see. Why am I struggling to read these? They're scrolling by. Either I've got a bum screen or they're just scrolling by faster than I can read them. Maybe I'm just slow. Maybe that's a good one. So, all right. Anyhow, maybe this is a good one. If I win, you can get a peanut butter custard parfait for me. So I hope that when people see this New Mexico hunt, we've thought about if we even have enough content to make it worth watching. And then we got to talking about it at our camp. And we thought, this is really, in some respects, really helpful because it shows what a hard hunt is like. So often on TV or YouTube or whatever, all you get to see are these hunts that everything works perfectly. This was one of the hardest elk hunts I've ever had. But every day we had to change it up, do something different, move here, move there, do this, pack up the llamas and go in 6 miles. That didn't work. Come out, go do this. Eventually we got into elk. So the reason we're going to show every day is so that people understand everybody's going to have hard hunts. I don't care who you are. You're going to run into some bad weather, some hunting pressure, some bad luck. How do you get through that? How do you keep the mindset and keep a plan in place where eventually you're gonna get into the elk? So that's why we're going to show it. I'm sure by about day 3, people are going to be saying, well, why are you boring me with this, Randy? Well, the idea is because we want people to see this is how the e-scouting plan was put together. This is how we worked it every day in the field. And even though it seemed like it was not going to happen, about the 5th day, we found where they are at. And then we had some good elk hunting. So, here's an interesting one. I have not thought of it. So, do you ever think of letting a client pick the hunting area and then showing them how to hunt it? No, I've never thought about that because I probably give them bum advice. Well, I think what we're going to do, Michael, are we going to bring this on the road with us? Are we next Wednesday?
Yeah, we should be able to.
Yeah, we should do one next Wednesday, even though we're going to be traveling.
We got that jetpack.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll figure out someplace. Michael's in charge next week. So if this Elk Talk Live doesn't pop up next week, you can blame it on Michael Parente. He is the production man in charge. If it goes south, it's his fault. Anyhow, we want to make sure that you sign up for the hunt, the sweepstakes. Go over to Onyx and get signed up. We want one of you to win it. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, follow our YouTube channel. If you love our content, hopefully if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you're watching it over there. Thanks to all the companies that make it possible. Bowtech, Ripcord, Black Gold, Tight Spot, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. Get 15% off the greatest calls by using promo code Randy. OnX, 20% off by using promo code Randy. And GoHunt.com, get their insider. Get the 30-day free trial by going to GoHunt.com/Randy. Hopefully I didn't forget anybody. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.